All right, here we go. All right, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to Rethinking Legal Ops, where we have forward-thinking conversations about the integration of law and tech and how that is changing the way we see and practice law. My name is Ashwarya and I'm your host. And today we have with us an amazing guest, a woman I deeply admire, Olga Mack. She's amazing. A lot of you already know her as one of the leaders in legal tech and digital transformations of law. She is the CEO and VP at Parley Pro, that is now with Texas and Nexus. Truly a pleasure to have you here, Olga, and really looking forward to talking with you.
I'm so excited to be here. We've had many conversations privately, but now we'll have a conversation publicly. And I'm really excited to get to know you better in this way.
Okay, thank you. And today, I could not really think of a better guest because we are talking about women in tech and women leadership in the intersection of law and tech. And I just can't find in my mind. I mean, there's of course a lot of amazing women, but I've seen your work through a lot of years. I started following you back in 2018, and I was still a student at Berkeley Law, and just really inspired by everything that you're doing. So, Olga, I'm very curious to hear about your academic and professional journey from, how you are doing what you're doing right now.
Oh, that's a long history. Let's start with today. Today, I'm building the future of law, and that's the most important job I have. I had an opportunity to join Parley Pro as a lateral CEO almost 3 years ago, and for me, it was a pivot from having the future of law as a hobby to future of law as a job. I've always been interested in the future of law, and I just never thought that your hobbies and things that make you excited to get up in the morning would actually also could be jobs. I don't know why. That was a mystery to me for about 15 years. But at some point, I've discovered that the hobby and the job could be one and the same, and I joined Parley Pro and had an adventure for the last 2.5 years, actively full time building the future of law, and have had a fantastic experience from the beginning to today. And now we are part of this iconic company called LexisNexis. I am really excited about it. Fun fact, you may or may not know, I was a LexisNexis rep in my law school, Berkeley Law, Go Bears. And for me, that was a fantastic experience. I love all the properties and content that this company has, and I think that Parley Pro Lexus could be a can do some really exciting things together.
Yeah, indeed, and it is very exciting indeed what you're doing. And for me also, you were one of the people that actually inspired me to think more about legal tech. I was just sort of like new back in 2018, and I was just trying to figure out what types of tools were available. And just watching your videos that you upload on YouTube, just starting these conversations about blockchain or different types of legal tech tools. And now you're doing your series on Web3. I think it's just amazing that you not just work in your field, but you also work on spreading more knowledge and information about it, that could benefit, someone like me that's, at the time was just thinking about, what is legal tech all about. So Olga, what really excites you about the intersection of law and tech and legal tech in general?
So I consider myself to be on the intersection law, business, and technology. And I've been on that intersection throughout my career, sometimes more in law, sometimes more in business, sometimes more in technology. I went to law school to be a tech lawyer. So that practically meant that I've been in disruptive industries for the last 15 years. I've been in SaaS before it was cool. I've been in data before it was cool, AI, ML, and yes, blockchain as well. My previous company, I was a VP of strategy of Y Combinator company called QuantStem that has a protocol that audits smart contracts. So I consider myself a technologist first. I also happen to really love lawyers. I am myself a lawyer. I happen to think that civil society is very important, and lawyers have a special place in the world to make sure that we have civil society so that we have a brighter future together. So it's even though I'm full time in the future of law today, I've always been one way or another, uh, at least to some extent, and I alluded to it as a hobby, as a contributor, as part of the conversation, because I think technology will and is shaping the future of law. It's not the only factor, but it is very important. And law schools do a great job teaching you law sometimes, but sometimes they don't teach you other things that are important. And technology is one of them. So I've been initially inadvertently on the mission to educate myself. And then as I've become a contributor in technology, um, and seeing what's possible and where it's going, educating others. So for me, sharing my knowledge through writing, through speaking, through social media is a two-way conversation. What I find people like you who feel the same way, or maybe building a different aspect of the future of law. And it's an opportunity to learn and supplement and grow, and yes, have many opportunities. And I value that. I value that a lot.
Absolutely. Me too. That really resonates with me. Just the community aspect of just how many people are just simply passionate about having conversations about new tech tools and teaching each other. I've just, in the time that I started learning about legal technology, I've had the pleasure of meeting all these amazing people. Every conversation, I learn about something new, whether that's how business integrates into making legal decisions, or how the in-house and business teams sort of work together. Those things I hadn't really thought about based on just what I learned in school. I just saw law as its sort of own thing. Your job is to write memos, legal advice, like briefs, things like that. And you don't really talk to the finance team or the tech team as much. So this is an exciting area to be. How did you make these decisions when you decided to work with disruptive technologies? Was it something that you always imagined your career to be when you were in law school, or how? I'm just curious about that journey a little bit as to how you pivoted into disruptive technologies and then ultimately legal tech.
Um, I wouldn't say that it was an intentional pivot. I follow my interests, and sometimes my interests become full-time jobs. So when both of my parents are engineers, and at some point I considered being one, for example. It is also true that when I was 12, I got to Candyland called Silicon Valley, and saw the power of disruptive technology and how it affects individuals, societies, and our careers, and just the world. All of that is true. That still doesn't necessarily mean that I should have been full time in this and even dabbling in it. I think it is a combination of being in the right place at the right time and having curiosity to say yes to an opportunity at least once. I have a rule generally that I will do the thing at least once. It is the second time that I may not do it. And so I did make a decision to be a tech lawyer by design. That's why I went to Berkeley Law. It has a well-known program in technology law, and I was specifically interested in privacy at the time. It was well before it was cool. It was well before GDPR. It was well before we have case law around privacy. The privacy that I was focusing was search and seizure, like really constitutional rights. That's how early that was. And so that intent was there. But I also was fortunate enough to, LexisNexis was a technology experience. When I got to law school, I felt like I was not in the right place. And there's a story that I often tell people is that I've considered to dropping out, not because I wasn't doing well, but because I just didn't feel like it was my jam. And I went to the Dean Ortiz, and I said, hey, I'm a little different, probably not for me. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, Olga, I know you're different. I read your application. That's why you are here. And knowing that early in my career that I am different, and that's why I am here. And in fact, she actually went further and she said, that's what law needs, which I didn't buy at the time, was actually kind of encouraging for a young lawyer in training. So I sought out all kinds of opportunities. LexisNexis was one of them. That's why I was in the lab, was learning the technology and the tool. I know the properties really well now for a long time. But then I did other things. One of the pivotal experiences for me in law school was working at Yahoo Labs. At the time, Yahoo has acquired this application called Flickr, which is a picture sharing app, and it did employ a lot of technologists from Berkeley, UC Berkeley, PhD students from the School of Engineering and School of Information. And I was working in the lab. And my job was to kind of understand what they're doing and how they're innovating, harvesting intellectual property. And I had a benefit of knowing Berkeley really well because I went there for college and law school. And then I was in this place, and for me, it was a number of conversations. But one of the conversations when we were in the big room predicting the future and thinking how we're going to innovate. And then subsequently to that, I was talking to a patent lawyer who said, Olga, did you take good notes? Yes, I did, sir. Do you think any of the stuff that they just mentioned useful? Could it be reality? Should we, think in, put intellectual property boundaries around it? Any of it is possible? And I thought about it. I was like, they said a lot of things. A lot of those things I don't understand. Are they possible? Yes. Which ones are more likely to make it? I have no idea. And it's that conversation where I was like, it's all possible, but I don't know which way it will go. So we made some decisions around intellectual property and how we harvest it. But what I had an opportunity for the next 15 years to see how every one of those ideas become a product or a service. Like from Instacart to Facebook to all the GPS-based location services that we use. Every single crazy idea is a reality today. Having that opportunity, that a crazy idea, what seems like a crazy idea, could be completely become true in your lifetime and you can be part of it. For me, that's a powerful experience, and that's why I think is the power of technology.
That is incredible. And wow, that just sounds like such an amazing experience, just watching all these technologies grow, and they're now all these like unicorns. Yeah, I would have loved to see something like that, and a lot of that is still happening. So yeah, it's an amazing experience, and
Yes.
very, very inspiring to hear as well. So when you were seeing these companies, take that next step and become successful, those crazy ideas becoming a reality, did you ever feel like maybe you wanted to be CEO of your own company one day, or start your own venture, or be entrepreneurial? Did you ever think about that?
Well, I'm a smart person. I think about a lot of things. I'm sure I've thought about it. I also was a very happy lawyer. It gave me a lot of pleasure to see these companies, thrive and grow. And I was confronted with the fact that predicting future may not be my thing. And that's why I have a theory I should try things at least once before I make a decision, because clearly, I don't know what's possible. So that's the underlying theory. You can't really live in Silicon Valley without like one day sitting, having a coffee and saying, oh, that's a business. I can do that. I should do that. Oh, we can even grow and do amazing things and change the world. Of course, I've had that. Everyone here, all my neighbors had that. I think I was a very happy lawyer, and I felt very, very productive and impactful in my role as in-house lawyer, as general counsel, as VP of strategy, of number 2 lawyer. So I felt like I was already there. I didn't need the CEO title to be impactful. I have considered building things on my own and between the industry leader, the business people, and the technologists. And I just frankly didn't necessarily have somebody that I would do it with. If I had a friendship with a technologist that I had a chemistry with, I probably would have done it. But given that I was not unhappy, in fact, I was quite happy, quite impactful. And yeah, sure, I had ideas, but I have a lot of ideas about all kinds of things. Most of them stay at the idea stage. So no, I was not seeking to become a CEO. In fact, when I was approached to become one, I unenthusiastically said, no, I'm not interested. I'm a very happy lawyer.
Wow. And also, just when you were when you were a young attorney, who had just graduated from law school, not as much experience, the world was much different than it is today. There was, it was a lot less diverse, just environments, and did you ever have that feeling where maybe you were like the only like girl in the room? And did you ever feel like there was lack of representation, or like fewer women in those rooms? And how did you navigate those situations?
remember, I kind of feel different to begin with. Like like it's before I even am aware that I'm a woman. It's being an immigrant, right? It's being, oh, the only Olga in the room. Just kind of fun fact. I was born in Ukraine, and I was one of 8 Olgas in the class of 24. One of 8. So like I was the definition of plain Jane, like speaking in the American, you know, definitions, right? Going from that to being the one and only Olga that people usually meet in their lifetime, that's a very like different reality. So yes, I feel different just kind of by definition. And that is before I'm aware of my gender and everything else. So I think I am sure I felt that, but I think I got myself to the place where I feel different. And I had enough validation through my life. Your difference is your asset, including Dean Ortiz, who told me that point blank. But also, I think the constructive dialogue in my head is that people react to me in a way that is unexpected. That could be because I'm a woman, but it could also be because I'm Olga. And it also could be because I have a quirky personality or whatever. We don't have a chemistry. Right? So, and reflecting on that and understanding there could be all kinds of reasons why people have a reaction, and then moving forward to a productive activity of, hey, how we can bridge it, how we can problem solve. I think this is what I've learned to do kind of intentionally throughout my career. I think it's undeniable that at scale, when you do studies, it is clear that gender matters. It is clear that color matters. All of those things matter. I think when you deal at it in the point in time as an individual, a more productive activity is to look for way forward and how to bring people along on your journey. And so that's why in those circumstances, that's what I try to do. But then I do try to do work of mentoring and giving back to the community and moving the industry forward, because I think in the end, it will help all of us.
Yeah. And I really admire that you do that because, watching you do what you're doing, it is very inspiring. And it shows that there is that space, for an immigrant, a woman, just to be on a board, to be CEO, to be VP. It's very inspiring for me to see. And when you were talking about, being the only Olga in the room, that really resonated with me as well, because I'm from India and my name is fairly common in India as well. There's this really famous actress called Ishwarya. And so I never felt like I never had to explain how to pronounce my name or like spelling, how to spell it, things like that. And then I moved to the US. In my first class, there was this amazing professor, very, very kind. And he was just going through the list of everyone's names. And I can always tell when someone's getting to my name because they just make the face. They're like, I swear, like they just could not. They were just like, I give up. Like, can you just tell me what your name is?
Well, before I became Olga Mack, which is my husband's name, I had a really long last name of 14 letters. And I know exactly when people get to my name and then they have a look and the pause, and then they kind of don't know what to do with it. And then they start pronouncing, then they give up. And then they said, Miss Olga, which one of those letters are silent? And I would say, actually, it's phonetically written. If you just read in English, you will get it, maybe without the accent, without Slavic accent, Ukrainian, Russian accent, but you will get it like 90% there. And I used to have this conversation with my dad. I would say, hey, like Americans really struggle with my name. And my dad said, why? Can't they read all letters? What's the problem? And I was like, well, the English words are short. And they seem to think that if you have 14 letters, half of them are silent. And my dad would say, well, let's just teach them how to read.
I love that. I love that energy because if when you do good work, and when you are putting that out there, people will learn to read your name, no matter how complicated it may seem to them, or how different it may seem to them. And I think that's also the power of just believing in yourself. And you make it look very easy, when you're talking about finding that common ground and just focusing on problem solving. But there's just so many barriers to to get to that. Like, you have to put in so much work. For you, Olga, did you ever did you not really, you already touched upon this a little bit, but did you not spend any time focusing on that at all? Or was this a constant process for you, like learning how to communicate with people, like to get them to not see just the fact that you're an immigrant, or that you're a woman, or whatever biases that they might have, and just seeing the work? What kind of a journey was that?
You seeing this sort of a journey a few years after it started, right? You're seeing a journey, you don't see the sort of the insecurities and all the questions I've had, and all the people who help, right? You see Olga, who's a product of all kinds of things, with now enough confidence to make it a joke, right? The sausage was made, and throughout that time, some parts were more fun. And I was fortunate, enough to be surrounded by people who were encouraging and supporting. As I mentioned, I've had those people. Some of them I not even close friends. Some of them were family members. My dad was very instrumental. I can give you another story. My dad and I showed up to my high school when I immigrated to choose my classes. I did not speak English, and my dad tells me, Olga, go talk to this person, they'll tell you what to do. My dad, is a professional swimmer, a very tall guy, a real patriarch in the family. I was raised to respect the elder and, a man of the household. I pause and I say, Dad, I don't know if you know, I don't speak English. All of that sounds good. I just can't speak. He was
It's a
out
minor
there.
problem.
Minor problem when you tell me go talk to people. He says, Olga, Russian is a really hard language. English, in the great scheme of things, is not a hard language. People who want to understand will understand you, and those who don't, it doesn't matter if you speak their language, they still will not understand you. And honestly, I was a teenager, and I can't say that I bought that argument. I was just I was raised not to argue with him, so I was like, fine, and I rolled my eyes. And so I was and I had a conversation with my dad, later in life, and he's like, yeah, I knew you didn't speak English, but I had to tell you something. What do you want to tell me, that I failed you as a parent? So I told you that you can do it, and you did. So it's those moments, whether it's your family members or people who just met you, kind strangers, who in this moment of hesitation, and in this moment of, do I have what it takes? Do I have the skill? Do I have the confidence? Can I make it? This one person with one word can make a huge difference. So that's why I really strongly believe that, as we move through our lives, through our profession, supporting others, it doesn't have to be a mentoring, long experience. It's just 2 words. You can do it. I see you. You go. There will be another person on their way who will help them to go forward. I think that's the most helpful we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just like one of the most critical things. And just, speaking from my own experience as well, I remember when I first attended my a conference at Berkeley, when I started out there in 2017, and I was just absolutely nervous. And in my case, I knew the language, but I was still just terrified to just go to talk to all these people from all across the world, not really knowing what to tell them. I was also, apart from that, just like quite an awkward person at the time. And my parents had come to drop me off at Berkeley, and it was orientation day, and we were supposed to just go have like I think drinks, or whatever, like a reception with all these people. And I refused to go talk to anyone. I was just hanging out with my parents. I was like, let's just take pictures, just be proud parents, drop me off, and I'll go to my room and I'll study. I'll do what I'm most comfortable with. And I remember like my mom at that time had just told me like, you're here now, you worked so hard to get here, like is it really going to be, was it all worthwhile at all if you were just going to, just sit in your room and just study and just get the book knowledge and not take advantage of this opportunity to meet all those people. And that really pushed me to be like, I'm actually wasting this opportunity that I worked so hard for, so I need to go out and do it. And then later on, like this was actually recently, I was at this conference and I was very nervous because it was all these, expert attorneys, people that have like over 30 years of experience, 20 years of experience. And then there was me. It's like, hi, I'm Mishwarya. I'm also a lawyer. And they're like, cool story. Like, nice job. And I was very nervous, and I was trying to like approach this person who seemed, to have like this very big aura. Like, they seemed to really know their stuff, and I was very intimidated. And there was this woman standing next to me, so I looked at them and I was like, they're probably not going to talk to me. So I turned around and started leaving, and this woman, she just put her hand on my back, and she was like, "Why are you leaving? Are you trying to talk to them?" And I said, "Yeah, but I don't think it's going to work out." She's like, if you don't try it, it for sure won't. And you're here, you're at this conference, you're here by yourself, you had the courage to show up here, so just go and talk to them, like it will be okay. And she just sort of took me to them, like she took me ahead of the line with to see the person, and I said hi, and it went amazingly. And it's just those sort of encounters, just like the stranger, I don't really know this woman, I'm just connected with her on LinkedIn, but she saw that and she wanted to encourage me. So definitely that like, community and just random people encouraging you, it really makes you feel home in a place that does not naturally feel like home.
Yeah, the power of "you can do it," phrase to another human is really lets you know that you see them, that you root for them, that they're not alone, and that gives people courage.
Yes, absolutely. And Olga, are there any particular female entrepreneurs, whether that's in legal tech or just in general, whose work you're most excited about at the moment?
There are actually no shortage of phenomenal women in any field, including the future of law, and many of them are increasingly visible. That makes my day. All you have to do is look at the ABA's recent list, and they've been putting out lists for a while now. It's a fantastic list. I encourage people to check it out. For me personally, I recently got to LexisNexis, and there are a lot of phenomenal women in all functions, and many of them are not lawyers who have been in the future of law business. And many of them reached out and welcomed me and asked me how they can be helpful. And they are not just, they are in sales, marketing, customer success. Like, future of law is the business that takes skills of all kinds. And I think that's important to realize when we talk about women in the future of law. We're not talking about a narrow population of Olgas who went to law school and practiced law. We're talking about the whole slew of professionals that may not have law degree, that care about the civil society and the way this unfolds. And so there's quite a lot of diversity, especially when you look at it this way. So and joining a company like LexisNexis like really reminds me how important that is. And there are of course numerous others. There's sort of versions of Olga. Like, I love what Catherine Crowe's doing in digitory legal. I like what Jackie's doing, with Clear Brief. Like, the women of One NDA are phenomenal. There's more than one of them. They are fantastic. Lila of Symbiom is a force to be reckoned with. I can go on and on. I'm a little worried sometimes when I start naming people, because I just basically omitted a gazillion people who are my personal friends and in my network and I care deeply about. So I'm going to stop naming names. All I'm going to say, there's a lot of us. If you don't find a woman in future of law, you have vision problems. Like, you need to check out a doctor, because there are a lot of us you cannot miss. If you're just not looking hard enough, or you have physiological problems. We are actively building. A lot of this industry is built by women. And so I encourage folks to reach out to diverse talent that is very much in this industry, and making impact every day in every function, whether or not they have a law degree.
Totally. Yeah. Cannot agree with that more. And I've had the, pleasure of interacting with like many wonderful women. One of them is of course you now. And before also just at conferences and stuff, the woman who encouraged me to go talk to this person. There are a lot of women in future of law, and it's just so encouraging for me to see that, because there's just so many good mentorship opportunities. You can just reach out to people, both men and women. Just, but for me, personally, I really appreciate a good woman mentor, because there's just so much I can, learn and relate to.
I actually encourage people to reach out to the person they want to become. And if the successful examples are not people you relate to, whether it's gender or color, that's who you reach out to. There is a human tendency to see, does that look like me, and therefore safe. That's a natural tendency, and there's a room for that. I encourage people to also say, what is a successful example in my industry of doing what I want to be doing? And encourage folks to reach out to that group as well, because that's the group that may or may not look like you or sound like you. That doesn't mean you should not be part of the group. That just means you need to reach out actively, get outside of your comfort zone, learn from the successful group, and be the example in the world of to show up as yourself, successful in what you want to be doing.
Yes, absolutely. And so many people that are just so giving and nice about mentoring. All it takes is, one LinkedIn message, or, one email, and people will have a virtual coffee with you. And there's a wealth of information that you can just learn from just that one meeting. So highly, highly recommend those LinkedIn chats. And speaking of, careers and, figuring out your own career path, you talked about your really interesting inspiring career path earlier, but how do you think legal tech is actually opening up newer avenues for lawyers that are, future lawyers that are still in law school, or lawyers who've just graduated from law school? Because when I was thinking about law school, it was still kind of this traditional outlook. You go work in big law, or, you go nonprofit and then you become in-house. But things are just so different now. There's just so many different type of things that one can do straight out of law school. So what's your perspective with regards to the role of the legal tech industry in changing that?
Sometimes we are our biggest obstacles, right? It is true that the profession is a gated community. It's hard to get in, and sometimes it's hard to get out, right? So for those of us who mastered getting in, we sort of wonder, why should we get out? If you look at other industries, swimming across lanes is actually normal. You see a sales professional becoming a marketing professional, becoming customer success, becoming a strategy person. That is normal. That is how people grow. That's how they become well-rounded professionals. That is not really accepted in law. I challenge lawyers to start thinking about their profession differently. People ask me all the time, am I worried that I will never practice law again? And my question is, why? Why would I worry about it? If I want to practice law, I am pretty sure I'm a better lawyer today because I understand how business works than I was when I left. So should I want to have an ambition to be a general counsel again, I see no problem to become one. I think we need to think differently. I think the opportunities have been there all along. It's partially the way the industry is designed, partially the way we think of ourselves, the way once we get into gated community. It is, however, true that technology is essentially putting that question front and center and questioning your assumptions, right? That's what technology does. Technology puts a mirror in front of you and questions your assumptions, right? Because what's possible, why we're doing the old way, does it still make sense? That's what technology does. And a lot of people, a lot of smart lawyers see the reflection and say, oh, I can be different. I can be different, right? That's why you see the rise of, look at clock. It was a critical mass that now grew into a movement. Many of them all practicing lawyers, doing fantastic different things because they had insights After the reflection of technology allowed them to see themselves to say, oh, I can practice law in a different way, or I can use my law degree in a different way. Remember, the future of law is an industry, and industries require not just lawyers. It requires sales, marketing, customer success, product, strategy, you name it, any normal business. Your knowledge and caring for lawyers and industry is an asset in every role. You can do different things. And if you really think about it, you can take those skills well outside. It is really looking in the mirror and asking yourself, who do I want to be growing up? What makes me happy? Why do I get up in the morning and do more of that? And sometimes the answer is giving legal advice. And sometimes the answer could be different. It could be selling, helping you implement technology, market, all kinds of things.
Yeah, very, very well said. I especially love, the metaphor you use with regards to mirror. Technology is a mirror. It helps you see, what you're doing, questioning your assumptions. I'm going to write that down. It's a very good one. And yeah, that's I've kind of seen legal tech, especially like that as well, because it just questions so many assumptions. Or maybe this is just my perspective because I'm very just focused on law, but it just questions all these assumptions about what it even means to be a lawyer. And that is my favorite thing about it. Because I really find it refreshing how, you just go on LinkedIn and you're seeing all these people. Someone's doing legal design, someone's doing legal ops, someone's doing, GC work, someone's, doing like litigation, and someone's just creating, this sort of like brand, like a personal brand of themselves, like just putting their life out there, putting their thoughts out there. And it's just amazing to see that lawyers do this. Like, I've just been watching the wrong movies and like TV shows where it's just like put on suits and like, write like lengthy documents. So I love it. So it's a really great time to be starting out your career, or if you're mid-career, it's just so many exciting opportunities, redefining what it even means to be a lawyer and to practice law right now. Um, Okay, so what are your favorite tech tools that are out there at the moment for law?
Um, Look, I've been knee deep in CLMs, right? And there's a reason for that. I like Parley Pro. I'll be shameless to say it is my favorite tool. If it weren't, I wouldn't be here. It is a tool for which I give up a practice of law that I love. So I'm not even gonna try to tell you that I love something else, because that's the love of my life today. I didn't build the tool. If I were to build the tool, it would be exactly that. So when I found that in the universe and I had a talent to contribute to it, I got super excited. I'm still super excited about it. And I'm excited because now we have opportunity to do even bigger things with LexisNexis. Look, I've been in house for a long time, and the reality is that when you practice law in house, no matter what I call you, I can call you a commercial support, a product lawyer, a litigator, whatever your title is, Queen Bee. I guarantee you one thing: you will be reading, interpreting, or negotiating contracts a fair chunk of your day. And up until recently, there were no tools to support you in that. Increasingly, that reality is changing, and I find it exciting. The in-house community resonates with me because I spend a lot of time there. I think this is an important drive in the future of law, and contracts is important. No matter what my title was, whether I was counsel, associate general counsel, contracts were part of my life. Even if I was not the lead negotiator, even if I was just approval reviewer, advisor, negotiator, whatever, that was important, because contracts are digital assets for the company, and no matter what your title is, you will be protecting them. And so I'm really excited. About Parley Pro's approach, and it's my favorite too. And yes, I'm also the CEO, so take that with a grain of salt. But I love my tool.
Yeah, and I love what you've been doing with Parlor Pro, and the direction it has taken. Since I started following it in 2019 in particular, and I've seen all the awesome work that you all have been putting out there, and personally get inspired by seeing that a lot as well. And very correctly said, contracts are the basis of all business, right? If there's no contracts, there's no business. So those types of tech tools and innovation in that area, for me also, is personally the most exciting. It's what I'm doing, what I'm doing at the moment. But do you also think that these types of tools, like tech tools, for whether that's CLM or even say automated drafting, or the whole wide range of legal tech that's out there, do you think that's only for lawyers, or how do you see its interaction with non-lawyers, maybe like CFOs or sales teams, etc.?
You're asking me questions that prompt me to talk about things I love, which is Parley Pro. The reason I love it is because we actually serve everyone. I firmly believe that a CLM is not just for lawyers. Lawyers are a fantastic caregivers. They're really good foster parents for contracts. They're ninjas when it comes to protecting a contract. But contracts themselves are digital assets, and digital assets that belong to the organization, to the enterprise, because all important relationships, all important services, all important transactions, they are documented in the contract. That is the valuable thing that belongs to organization. And what that means is that we all in the organization must have an appropriate relationship with that asset, depending on our function and depending on the life cycle. And that's what attracted me to Parley Pro, is because yes, we give fantastic tool to ninjas, right? Otherwise known as lawyers, who live in contracts all day, every day. And whether you're privacy professional or financial professional or sales professional, whatever, will give you the tool to do your job at the right place at the right time. And that tool will be different than that for a lawyer, right? And you know, I think it's very important, especially for a product that is so horizontal, where everyone has a relationship with it, to include everyone on that journey. Now, not all legal technology is that horizontal. Some of it is actually uniting legal teams around something that is really, really legal. And in that case, that may be different. But when it comes to contracts, that asset belongs to the organization, to enterprise. And whether you are building your department or technology and contract, I think you have to understand how important the entire organization is. If you're implementing CLM, you need to think how the rest of the company organization will come along with you on that digital transformation journey.
Absolutely. Very concisely and very, very aptly put, sort of giving the 360 view of just what contracts mean to businesses. It's not just something that your legal department deals with. It affects every single team, and very important for everyone to understand them. And lastly, Olga, what would be some advice that you would like to offer to people that are entrepreneurs and they want to enter the legal tech market and launch their crazy ideas?
It's advice I'll give to that group and lawyers and everyone else who cares what I have to say. The future belongs to builders. It's that simple. If you look around and you don't like your reality today, you can do all kinds of things. You can complain, you can disengage, you can do all kinds of things. But we have tools today to build effectively and efficiently. And if you don't like today, my invitation to you: pause when you are disgruntled, when you're unhappy. Notice what makes you unhappy, and then constructively think what you can do today, what you can build today to change that reality. Because every reality has been built at some point, and today we have a lot of skills and tools to connect with people, that complete our skills, and change, rebuild. Yes, even law, and law is being rebuilt every day. So if you are graduating from law school, or you have graduated from law school, or have been practicing for a long time and thinking, wow, this field is broken, You're right. It is. The best of us are a little broken. My invitation to you is to start building. The future belongs to builders. You want to see different, start building.
I love that. Could not have thought of it or said it and any better. Thank you so much for that, Olga. Those are very empowering and very very true words. And this has been a wonderful conversation. I cannot tell you how much I was looking forward to talking with you, and I've learned so much. Really enjoyed talking with you, and I'm sure our listeners have had a really great time this episode. Thanks to you for taking the time to do this, and thanks so much to all our listeners for tuning in every week and for all your interest in rethinking legal ops and legal tech in general. And the future belongs to builders, and we're all part of it now. So here's to that.
Yeah, thank you so much.